So let's try this again, because I already filmed half the video without turning the camera on. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel and to another book haul. I don't know. It doesn't happen that often that I forget to switch on the camera, but it happened this time. Anyway, it's the last day of November, and of course I bought some books during the month, and I thought I'd better film this now on the last day so that it's the November book haul actually in November. It's 7 books, so I didn't, get too crazy, but there are still some books coming, but we will talk about them in the December book haul. I always count the day of arrival and not the day of ordering. Yeah, anyway. The first book is a work of translated fiction. Olga Raven. Yeah, it's a glare. I'm sorry. The cover is beautiful, but it glares. The Employees. Published, translated from the Danish by Martin Aitken. Published in Denmark in 2018 and in the English translation earlier this year. I have never heard of this author. I came across this book when I looked at the website for the new Le Guin Prize for Fiction. I will leave a link to the website down below. It's a newly established prize for fiction with a focus on speculative fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, and this was long-listed, and I thought it sounded interesting. It's set on a spaceship, and you have all kinds of shenanigans going on, and the book is set up as statements of people on that spaceship. So it's, it sounded intriguing, and I convinced Adam from Memento Mori that it sounded intriguing, so we're going to buddy read this one. We were planning on reading it in December, but we still have to finish an actual Le Guin, Powers, the third in the trilogy, and we pushed that to January, but I had already ordered it. So anyway, the next one is for my 1001 Women I Have to Read Before I Die project, and that is an Angela Carter, The Passion of New Eve. I have to admit, this is 1977. Yeah, I looked that up while I was talking to you. Published in 1977. I have to admit, I never read Angela Carter. For some reason, and don't ask me why, this is our author, 1940 to 1992. I mixed her up with a romance author with a similar last name. And so I completely, I don't know, not that I'm against romance, but that's just not a genre that I read a lot. But that is obviously not true at all. So I included her on the 1001 list, and this very pretty Virago Modern Classic edition I picked. There are other books. Maybe I will probably read more than one and then see which book should be on the list. But for now, I start with this. And I have no idea what it's about. New York has become the city of dreadful night, where dissolute Layla performs a dance of chaos for Evelyn. But this young Englishman's fate lies in the arid desert, where a many-breasted fertility goddess will wield her scalpel to transform him into the new Eve. That sounds weird enough, so we'll see. The next one is a book that I have already read twice, but I didn't own a physical copy, and because I love it so much, I wanted to have a physical copy. You will not be surprised if you follow my channel. It's Morava Yejide's Creatures of Passage, which was unfortunately, and it's not sticked on, it's printed, but yeah, what can you do? It was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction this year, and it was one of my favorite reads It's a debut novel of a Black American author. No, we don't have a picture of the author, unfortunately. And it's set in Washington in the 1980s. And the main character is Nephthys Kinwell, a taxi driver of sorts. She's ferrying ill-fated passengers in a haunted 1967 Plymouth Belvedere with a ghost in the trunk. And then there is a real plot about, it's quite harrowing, about child abuse and yeah. But I thought it was magical, this book. I mean, I sung its praises. If you follow my channel, you know that I sung its praises. And I was really bummed that I didn't have my own physical copy. So now I do. And I'm planning definitely also on rereading it. Not sure yet whether this will happen this year still or next year. Isn't it weird to talk about next year? Do you have the same thing that it's, I'm making plans. Like I had a talk with a friend about a buddy read. Yeah, we will read that next year. Sounds weird, but anyway. And then I'm preparing for Cloak and Dagger Christmas 2022. This is, if you don't know, this is the event where you read, it's a mystery centered event with prompts and everything, and Mel from Mel Martin is one of the hosts, and Kate Howe is one of the hosts. I will leave the link to Mel's announcement video down below, and the other hosts are Janelle from Too Fond of Books, and Kate from the novel Nomad, and Carolyn from BBC Girl 520. And like I said, it's a month-long event centering around mysteries. And the prompts are, some of them are book related, but it's also, one prompt is, watch a mystery and get cozy and things like that. You should check out Mel's announcement or any of the other announcements. I'm not sure whether I will follow all the prompts, but I will certainly try to read, make my reading mystery heavy in December. And I think that's also for me a very nice change of pace, so to speak, from the very non-fiction heavy November. I mean, I love reading non-fiction, absolutely. About a good third of my reading is non-fiction. Heidi is now going to laugh, Heidi from My Reading Life, because she reads like 80% non-fiction. But for me, a third is a good mix. And the November was, I think, more than 90%. And then mysteries, that's always a good way, to change the lane of reading, so to speak. Anyway, that was a long-winded introduction into the 4 books that I have here that I might read, or the list of, it's 4 possible books, because 1 or 2 might be buddy reads, and I'm not sure that we will get to those in December. But anyway, the first one, start with the books already. The first one is this, The Cartographers by Peng Shepherd. That book was published in this, no, it can't be this year. Is it this year? Well, I wrote down this year, so it should be this year. But anyway, because I bought it used and it has a dog ear on the cover. And we all know how I hate dog ears, and especially on the cover. I read Peng Shepherd's previous book, The Book of M, which was a kind of a sci-fi, no, not kind of, it was a sci-fi setting. And I really, really enjoyed it. This is more, as far as I know, a straightforward mystery. I'm not sure whether there is a sci-fi element. I don't think so. And it's about Nell Young, who finds herself thrown into an investigation when her father is found dead in a library. And there is a hidden map and cartographers. So that's all I know. The premise sounded intriguing. I like the author. With mysteries, I tend to not look that much into the plot because I feel that a lot of things that you read about the plot will spoil it for you, at least for me. So I'm just looking at the premise, whether I find that interesting, and I do. and the author. I'm not sure whether it fits any of the prompts that the hosts of the Cloak and Dagger 2022 Christmas came up with. I will make it fit. Trust me. And then I found this in a used bookstore and I immediately grabbed it. It's Elizabeth George, For the Sake of Eleanor. It's the 5th in the Linley Mysteries. And if you follow my channel, you know that Heidi from My Reading Life and I, we are making our way slowly but surely through that series. There are more than 10, 15 or something. So we read number 4 in October, and this is the 5th one. And because we are reading the whole thing, I have to say I have no idea what this is about. None. But again, we're reading the series anyway, but I'm not sure whether we will read this in December. I bought the book because I saw it. I haven't even talked to Heidi yet about maybe reading this together in December. But with a mystery, I like the Linley series. If you're not familiar, Inspector Linley, Thomas Linley, is a police detective, but he's also a lord. So you have this kind of posh family and friend environment. His best friend is also from nobility, and his best female friend is Lady Helen. And then you have his co-worker with whom he teams up, who comes from a working background, so working class background. So it talks about class in those books, but it's very character oriented. So Elizabeth George is a good plotter for sure, with all the typical, clues, red herrings, but her books this series in particular is definitely character heavy. There's also, you can watch it on the telly, the BBC series. Heidi and I are really enjoying this series and getting to know more about the characters. The last book, the 4th, was sort of a prequel where we went back into the past, Thomas Linley's past, which was also interesting to get more background about the characters. And it fits, like I said, this idea of being very character driven. The next book I bought is a work of translated fiction, a crime fiction. I had to look up the translator. That is the Aosawa Murders by Riki Onda, and I looked it up and then I forgot it immediately. Translated from the Japanese by Alison Watts. This was originally a pick for my In Real Life book club, but I couldn't make it to the meeting, so I haven't read it yet. And this is all very not proper. Anyway, from what I have never read this author, but it also sounds intriguing. It's about on a stormy summer day in 1970s, the Aosawas, owners of a prominent local hospital, host a large birthday party in their villa on the Sea of Japan, and then it turns into tragedy because 17 people are murdered with poison. The daughter, the blind daughter, is one of the few, so if not the only survivor, and this book then takes place over a decade or two later. The prime suspect has committed suicide. That's all on the blurb, but might not be the real killer. And then, like I said, decades later, we explore this murder. I started it, and it's set up from like conversations. For instance, this is the first one, a conversation, and I'm not that big of a fan of that type of setup for books, especially in murder mysteries, but we'll see. Maybe it will grow on me. Maybe it will be a bail. Who knows? And then the last book is also a possible buddy read with Heidi from My Reading Life, and I bought it because I saw it in the used bookstore, and that is See What I Have Done by Sarah Schmidt. And that is Sarah Schmidt Sarah Schmidt's debut novel, and it was published in 2017, and it intrigued me back then, but I'd never gotten around to it, not even gotten around to buying it. It is about Lizzie Borden, the Lizzie Borden murder case. It's a reimagination of the fatal events in the Borden household when Lizzie Borden supposedly killed her stepfather and mother and with an axe, which is intriguing in itself because it's not that often that women kill with that type of weapon. If you look at the history and criminology, women tend to resort to poison, for instance. That is supposedly a typical female way of murdering people. I mean, what do I know? But I was intrigued by the Lizzie Borden case. I watched a couple of documentaries about her, and this idea that you would, reimagine it. And I think it's from Lizzie Borden's perspective. Yes, I see. I pushed my uncle past my uncle. So, yeah, but Heidi and I tentatively at some point, I think she bought this book as well for one of her birthday book hauls, if I'm not mistaken, this year. And we said we might read it together. So maybe we will, pick this up in December. And if not, some other time. So not all those crime books might actually be read in December, but I have plenty of unread crime books also on script and on my Kindle. So we'll see how that goes with the Cloak and Dagger. But check out the announcement if you're into mystery. They, as always, really came up with very, very good prompts. Easy mixture, like I said, book related and non-book related. So I'm sure it's going to be fun. And I'm babbling, and I will stop now. So this was my November book haul on this very last day of November. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, leave your comment down below. I'm looking forward to that, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.